Hello, everybody. My name is Louisa. Welcome to my channel. If you haven't been here before, I am talking today about a topic that I think is topical, the topic of war and peace on planet Earth at the moment. As some of you know, I don't like to make videos unless I have something original to share in the collective mental space that is our internet. As in, I'm certainly not here to just churn videos out. But I make this video today with a little bit of trepidation because the Israel-Palestine war especially is very alive for people across the planet right now. And my trepidation comes because the war is contentious, the opinions are polarized, and there's a lot of powerful and strong emotions behind people's points of view. There's also a lot of commentary coming out about it. So I certainly had no intention of adding to that digital clutter. Although in saying that, I have been looking at quite a lot of the material myself, because I will confess I knew very little about Palestine and Israel. I've grown up hearing about the wars, the conflict, but not taking the time to ever research it for myself, and having a very, you could say, media conditioned story in my head about what was going on. So I, like many people on the planet, have had my eyes and heart opened in the last 28 days, I think it's now been, since October the 7th, since Hamas attacked Israel, or broke through the barricade and attacked Israelis, which then initiated the counter-response by the Israeli Defense Force, which has taken the lives of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza. This tragedy, I think, has, like a lot of tragedies on our planet, affects all of us to the core, a really deep place. I have found myself crying, watching some of the stories and the footage. And most of the time when these sorts of things happen in the media, I tend to take a backward step. I'm like a lot of people that call themselves light workers. I'm very committed to my own spiritual path and the bringing of light and healing in my small sphere. So I usually take a back step. I usually try not to, get too involved, or especially if it's going to trigger my negative emotions. I know what's going on and I send it love and light, but then I step back, if that makes sense, as a sort of a way of protecting my business, what I'm here to do, my mission on Earth. Yeah. But this one was different. This event has drawn me in, and it was only last night when I actually understood why I was drawn in to assist, I suppose, in the etheric realm, to assist with the consciousness of the collective understanding of this war and the frequency of what we're feeding it. Because it's one thing to watch these images playing out on TV or social media or wherever you're getting your news from, and to go into states of fear and anger and anguish. Right? That's natural, that's normal, that's a human response. But it's another to get lost in that, and for that to get, I guess, become toxic in your own energy field, so that it's dragging you down and you're not able to be helpful. Now, what do I mean by helpful? Well, help on this planet right now, this is a carte blanche statement for any disaster, any tribulation and trial that we are facing as a collective. Help is love. Help is forgiveness. help is cultivating that which we wish to see, being the change that we wish to see in the world, to quote Gandhi. And every event like this is a test for the whole of humanity. It's a test on an individual personal level, and it's also a test for all of us together to see where we're really at. You know, what is one of my favorite words is aggregate. I probably drive you guys nuts with that word. The aggregate, meaning if you put the sum total of all human consciousness and spat out a figure of what the medium response is, what will it be? And in the past, when these things have happened, the median response has been fear, by and large, fear. It's what we've gone into as a collective. There have been groups and pockets of people who were holding love and light. And if you think of tragedy like 9/11, way back in September 2001, most of the planet went into fear in aggregate. Small proportion went into love and light. How do I know this? Well, it's a fair question to ask. Today I'm drawing on Great Raven, Great Crow, because this knowing is a deeper knowing. It is beyond mine. It is fifth dimensional knowing. As each of us rise in consciousness and we're able to access this expanded state of awareness, we can all ask Great Spirit, God, Source, what is the answer here? What do I need to know right now? We can't be arrogant enough to think we can know everything, but we will get enough to guide us on our journeys and to influence how we feel and think and how we act based on that knowledge. So my knowing of these issues comes from a deeper place than mere logic and research, which has its place. Could also call it the divine feminine intuitions, the knowing in the bones. And animals have this knowing because they are a part of nature, because they are fully connected online with all that is, with God, God's source, creator. They are one. They have no barrier between source and this experience of being in the body. This is how animals know if there is a bushfire that they need to run from, or a tsunami coming, or rain coming. They know, deep, deep down, they just know. And I've been going through this myself recently. We've had a lot of bushfires around us, a lot of really scary bushfires. Only 6 k's away was the closest one. And on those days, I tuned into my inner knowing, and I knew that I would be safe. And I also looked at the animals. They were not running. They knew we would be safe. So I'm talking here about connection to the quantum field, which allows me to confidently say that the aggregate of humanity is raising, the consciousness is raising. Since even as short a span time as 2001, we have made enormous strides towards raising our frequency. And so every event that happens is a test, is a tribulation that we all have to go through. War in Ukraine was the same thing. The fires on Maui, all of these big events, COVID, big test. How do we respond? Now, we can't control the collective other than sending our own frequency out into the collective, because each of us, our frequency, which is the aggregate, there's my word again, or the composition of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, those 3 things working together, create your energetic frequency that you send out. The higher your frequency, the more powerful what you send out. It has a longer range. It reaches more. It affects the quantum field more. So when you're in a state of love and peace, it's going to affect the quantum field in a much greater way. And they've proved this with experiments for those of you who like the science. If you look up Maharishi effect, it's only one experiment that I can think of on how collective consciousness ripples out into the quantum field. Another reference is David Hawkins, The Power versus Force, and his work on the levels of human consciousness, calibrating them, finding that bliss, joy, love, enlightenment were like on a scale of 1,000 to 10. 1,000 was enlightenment and 10 is shame. That's the scale, you know. And a person who is emitting shame as a default frequency into the matrix is not having a very big impact. That ripple just goes and it kind of stops. Whereas when you are in an enlightened state of consciousness or a higher frequency, you are emitting a powerful light quotient that affects everything, which is why when we stand in the presence of these masters or anyone who has a pure, loving energy field, we will feel it and we will feel uplifted by it. So you probably have that personal experience for yourself where you've been around somebody like that, or you've been in an environment which was very loving and caring, and you felt better, right? So that's a small microcosm example of how this works. And when a whole bunch of us on the planet get together and begin to emit the higher frequencies, we change the whole collective, we change the whole matrix. So that's like the foundational knowledge you need to know, which sets up what I'm about to share with you, because I was feeling into this war that's going on between Gaza and the state of Israel, and wondering about its higher spiritual purpose. I know that there is one. There always is one. There's one for every single thing that you encounter in your life is a higher spiritual purpose. But my mind hadn't quite, got there. Hadn't quite figured out what it was, other than, of course, the bringing up of the shadow for us all to see, because that is one part of this, is that those wounds that were begun perhaps thousands of years ago. I'm not very good with the history of Jewish persecution and Palestinian persecution and all of that stuff that goes on in the Middle East. But I do know that the crux of it boils down to these areas in Israel and this land and the religions and the messaging behind that. So I know that this has been going on for a long, long time, and it's one of the wounds that need to be seen and healed for us collectively. So there's that component of it. We're seeing now what's happening there. We're really able to confront it. Citizen journalists with their cameras can go into Gaza and show us exactly what it's like. Wow, immediacy. It's like we are there. We can be if we choose. So we can witness. So I see myself as a compassionate witness to what is happening. And I think that is an important role to play. If that's all you can do, is to witness this compassionately, rather than with fear or with hate in your heart. It's kind of like level one of what you can offer as a service at this time, spiritually speaking anyway. Level two is what I'm about to describe. And that is when I was in my nightly meditation last night. Sometimes when I do that, I can access the collective light worker consciousness. I don't really know what else to call it. It's a network of beings on this planet who are raising their frequency to a point where we have activated our multidimensional light bodies, and we are able to see each other, meet each other on the astral or etheric planes of consciousness. And so when I in the past have gone up to this place, it's not really a place, it's a kind of a realm, a mental realm of consciousness that I can access through my third eye, and sometimes in my dream time as well. I have seen now for several years, actually since COVID began, many, many light workers meeting in that realm, aware of each other, inhabiting the same conscious space, because their frequencies are like, they are attracting, they are collecting their energy. So I've seen many gathering, but I went there last night and I have never seen the amount of light workers or people. Let's just call them people. We don't even need, the labels aren't important. Just people, human beings in this etheric astral plane, in what I can only describe as a vigil formation. Vigil, praying with such deep, earnest intention, praying for peace, praying for love, praying for freedom, praying for the children, praying for the mothers and the fathers, praying even for the perpetrators, the so-called villains, the army or the terrorists or the whoever's, praying for all who are involved, right? Not withholding divine love, no. Beaming it out to those lands from the deepest place. Calling for peace across the whole earth as a service, and we cannot have peace unless we give peace to both sides, unless we forgive all people, unless we see beyond the us and them. So there are, I don't know how many, I'm getting millions from my guides, millions of us who are right now in various stages. Like some of us are like carving out time to pray during the day. Some of us are just doing it as we think about this situation and we tune in. Some of us are meeting in groups to do it, ceremony. Some of us are offering things to the land or the river or the sky people, to deities, temples. I mean, it doesn't matter how it's done. Even simply a breath or lighting a candle in your own home is enough to contribute to this powerful force. And the message that I got from my guidance last night was that this is it. Humanity has chosen peace and love over war. And we had to have this test to prove it, right? We had to have this test to bring us together like this. Enough of us on the planet who is saying we want peace and love, not war. The quantum matrix is pretty much a democracy, right? We vote with our energetic signature. We vote with what we want to create. And we have to back that up with our feelings, our thoughts, and our actions. And if we're doing all of that and we're aligned, we're casting our vote. But it is a little unfair, the quantum field, because those with the higher frequency have more power. This is where it's good for us, right? If you can stay in that loving frequency, it doesn't mean you don't get sad. It doesn't mean you might not shed tears, but you do that business and then you come back to love and you send that love and your prayers to the people that need it. That is a more powerful vote. That actually affects the quantum field. And this light that we are sending out, this love light, it is a plasma. It is, again, I'm not very good with science, but my understanding of plasma is like a tangible energy that actually has, it works on the quantum field. So you're sending that parcel of beautiful love and light out, and it is going to be delivered. And enough of us are doing this now, that we cannot fall into lower states of consciousness henceforth. Every single thing that happens on this earth from this moment on is an uplift, not a downlift. Even if it's war, it is going to continually activate the love and the light more and more and more. And even all of those people that are involved, I watched a beautiful, I'll post it below, a beautiful commentary by a Muslim woman talking about the love in the hearts of the Palestinian people for God. Now, I'm not going to speak for Israeli people. I'm not trying to take a side here. I only was referring to this video because she was, I don't know any Palestinians, so I didn't realize this, but she was saying that their faith is deep, their belief in Allah. They're saying, Inshallah, God willing. It's in the very fabric of their being. And so in that beautiful state of surrender to God, they are doing a service for us as well. How they go through this experience in Gaza, and same how any Israelis go through this experience, is all contributing to, I believe, a liberation of humanity, a full liberation. This is not just about Gaza and the liberation of the Palestinians or peace for the Israelis. It's actually about liberation and peace for all of us. So that was my message from Great Spirit. And yeah, I feel very confident that this has a benevolent purpose, outcome, no matter what it's looking like in the third dimensional realm. It's taking that higher perspective and again, tuning into that deep inner knowing, tuning into your own creator crow inside you. The creator being of the Native American people is the crow. And look at those wise eyes. They know it's okay. We also have here in Australia the black cockatoo, which is the spirit bird, the bird of the spirit ancestors, much like the crow, a beautiful totem of ancient knowing and knowledge. And here is a picture of winter, right? This metaphor for this time that we're in, the deepest winter, perhaps, of humanity's experience. And yet the season will turn. The season will turn. And the crow knows that, and I know that. Inshallah. Thank you for watching this. Please take care of yourselves at this time. Remember that you are doing enormous, beautiful service just by sending prayers or anything else you do that helps create peace in your own world, peace with yourself, peace with your family, peace with your neighbors, peace with your community. May all beings be free. With love and blessings. Until next time. Bye.